Hey guys, Darkovika here, and today's vlog is a little special. For those of you who remember from like a little before November started, I was interested in entering NaNoWriMo this year. For those who don't remember, NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month, which takes place during November every year. For the goal of NaNoWriMo, you are challenged to write a story of 50,000 words. It doesn't have to be a completed story, it just has to meet the goal of 50,000 words or more, and you are considered a winner. NaNoWriMo is really cool because they're an organization that gives access to these really cool tools that you might never know about if you're a story writer, like Scrivener, which, you know what, is like my favorite thing on the freaking planet right now. That said, I've been really excited about the story that I'm writing. I'm further than I've ever gotten in a story for NaNoWriMo. I'm about 19,000 words in or so, and I'm really excited. I'm like above the goal that I'm supposed to be at for today and tomorrow, and it's really exciting. For those who have been watching me for a really long time, you'll know that I was working on an RPG Maker game for ages. I'm still working on it. It's called Sherwood. Everyone knows by this point, I'm sure, that I am obsessed with Robin Hood, and Sherwood was my plan on giving another entry to the Robin Hood legend, because recently I've noticed that there's not like a whole lot of stuff for Robin Hood. Like, we see King Arthur references everywhere and all the time in medieval stuff. You have your knights, you have your, inevitable King Arthur references, but it's actually pretty rare to see anything about Robin Hood. I mean, you'll see archery stuff, but there's nothing with Robin Hood. So I wanted to make a game first about Robin Hood, but I ended up scrapping the entire beginning that I had because I realized that it was terrible. And so I'm restarting it. But I figured one great way to kind of help myself understand the story of Sherwood and what I'm trying to achieve is to actually write it out as a book. So that is my NaNoWriMo entry this year, is Sherwood, my RPG Maker game, but in book format. Obviously, there are no quests. Don't expect that. So I'm really, really excited about that. I've been having so much fun. I love the story. I love my characters. And to sort of give you guys an idea of what I'm writing, I am going to go ahead and read you the prologue to the story because I'm quite happy with the prologue. I'm not really happy with much else. The idea of NaNoWriMo is to write a lot of words, whether they're good or not. Doesn't really matter. You're not supposed to go back and edit things. I kind of fluffed that up. I scrapped the story once and then started over again, and I think I actually scrapped it twice, which was why for a couple of days I was really behind, and then I just suddenly leaped up and caught up, and now I'm ahead. So without further ado, I'm going to read you guys the prologue to Sherwood. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening. Rain fell in the boy's eyes as he sprinted along the dirt road. His feet slapped through puddles, bare and dirty, and every moment was a gamble against slipping in the churned-up mud. His hair, blonde but dirty, dripped into his eyes, which shone copper in the night. Fear etched every line of his haggard face, and the boy gave a wide berth between him and the looming forest to his right. Despite his rush and the need to reach his destination quickly, he refused to enter the forest. The trees were tall and brooding, and they leaned toward him with every gust of wind, like reaching arms and long, knobbly fingers. Lightning lit up the road, and the boy stumbled forward, seeing that he was much nearer his destination than he had originally believed. Relief flooded him at the sight of blurry figures illuminated only briefly outside a large but familiar structure. In the brief flash of lightning, he could see the giant mill that had once been the source of his family's livelihood, turning and creaking dangerously. As the boy neared, however, he felt his insides turn to icy ash. There was a stance to the distant figures that seemed to speak of ill tidings. A small, somber crowd was gathered around a still body lying on the floor, illuminated by yet another flash of lightning. A small cry escaped the boy's lips, and he ran up to and then past them, not even seeing their faces. All he could see was the man on the ground, face frozen in desperate fury, an arrow shaft buried right where his heart had once beat. "Father!" the boy sobbed, his trembling fingers grasping at the man's sodden clothes. The boy felt weaker than he had ever felt before. Everything had been taken from him. It had been nearly impossible to eke out a living, even with his father alive. Now that the once great miller had passed, the boy was alone, and this knowledge struck him like a blow to his gut. Much, a woman's voice said softly, calling him by name. Much sobbed again, leaning over his father's body, too exhausted and broken to care that he was now as thoroughly soaked through as a sponge. Let him catch his death. What else was there? Mother dead, brother dead, and now his father. Much, son of Much, was all that was left of the once renowned Miller family. Son. Much lifted his head slowly, and he saw that there was a man across from him. His face was deep within a thick hood, dyed the green of the forests that Much had worked so hard to avoid. Alarmingly bright green eyes gazed out at Much, but he felt that they were kind and sad. When Much didn't answer, the man reached forward to clasp his shoulder. This man, was he your father? Much's throat became thick with emotion, the past tense of the man's question hurting like an arrow to the heart. Yes, Much's voice sounded thick, swollen, and tired. He was. I know this is difficult, the man said quietly. Where is your mother? Dead. Much laughed bitterly, and it sounded hysterical. I am alone in this world. My only options now are to die, for I have no art, no property, no family. His sentence ended in a choke, and Much's fingers tangled up further in his father's shirt. Die? The man sounded surprised by Much's answer, and disappointed. And what of Prince John? Would you let him off for this deed he has committed? So it was the prince. Much felt his tears fall faster. That coward, that usurper, that bastard. There were murmurs of agreement from the folks around Much, people who had known his father. Much's anger filled him as hotly as his despair had. So he killed my father. Not he precisely, but these witnesses say your father was to be punished for hunting the king's deer. The man paused, as though waiting for Much to deny this claim. Much's voice cracked as he half sobbed, half laughed. Of course he was, the boy retorted. How else was he to feed his dying family when his mill had been appropriated by Prince John? Much's fingers twisted his father's shirt, but of course the man never moved, never responded. My father was a good, honest man, but Prince John saw something he wanted, and he took it. Our lives be damned. I see. The world fell silent but for the falling rain, until Much felt a slight pressure against his back, and the feeling of the rain suddenly disappeared. He looked up in surprise and realized that the man had covered him in the forest green cloak. Beneath it was the face of a noble well known to the people, the face of a man both known and loved. You, Much said, faltering, as he recognized the glorious face before him. Much could see a deep sadness and pain in this face, a pain they shared. A shock of blonde hair, bright in the darkness, topped the nobleman's head, and a beard adorned his chin and jaw. Sad eyes as green as the forest on a sunny spring day watched him, full of wild magic. The man leaned forward, rain dripping down his face, or tears. Come with me, Much, son of Much, he said in a rich voice. We will bury your father together, for the world has greater plans for you than you know. Much swallowed heavily before clasping the hand on his shoulder. I will go with you, he said, his voice cracking with his tears. I will serve Robin Hood.